Hi all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, my name is Elaine, and today I'm going to show you how to make a wonderful budget Beluna Grandsquall deck for roughly $25. Beluna is a Temur commander. She costs 1 green, 1 blue, and 1 red mana to cast. She's a legendary giant noble with the following abilities. Trample on permanent spells you cast that have an adventure cost 1 less colorless mana to cast. Her adventurous side, Seek Thrills, is an instant, which costs 2 colorless mana, 1 red, 1 green, and 1 blue mana to cast. It allows you to mill 7 cards and then put all the cards that have an adventure from among them into your hand. Since Beluna's secondary ability reduces the cost of adventure spells and Seek Thrills helps you put adventure spells in your hand, you want to fill your deck predominantly with adventure spells. Ideally, you're looking for a mixture of strong creatures that can help keep you safe, and instants and utilities on the adventure side, which will help you build up your board state, protect your side of the field, and anything else you might need. For those of you who might be unfamiliar with the adventure mechanic, it's a mechanic that allows you to send a spell on an adventure after you've paid the associated cost. Adventures can either be instants or sorceries, so timing must be kept in mind when casting one of these spells. For example, you would pay 1 colorless mana and a blue mana to cast the sorcery Sand Augury, which allows you to scry 1 before drawing a card. After the spell has resolved, it is placed in a special form of exile on an adventure. You may cast the permanent spell from exile, so the creature side of the card, for its cost, as long as you can afford to do so. If we were to use the same card as before, you would pay 4 colorless mana and a blue mana to end your card's adventure and summon Young Blue Dragon to your side of the field. Now that you know how the adventure mechanic works, I want to take some time to discuss some of the adventurous utilities I've included in the deck, which help serve a number of different purposes. Fertile Footsteps, which allows you to search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle, and plant Beans, which allows you to play an additional land this turn, help you ramp. While their creature halves, Beanstalk Giant and Beanstalk Worm, are both strong creatures in their own right. Beanstalk Giant's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, so as the game progresses, and you continue to build up your land base, he becomes an increasingly large, stompy creature that can really eat away at an enemy's health, especially when paired with a card like Rose Passage, which allows you to pay 4 colorless mana and tap it to make a target creature unblockable this turn. Beanstalk Worm, on the other hand, starts off as a 5/4 with reach, making it an excellent blocker for pesky flyers. It, like any other creature in this deck, has the ability to grow even larger with various sorceries like Scale Deflection, which allows you to put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature and untap it. It also gains hexproof until end of turn and instants like Guard Change, which allows you to create a monster roll token attached to target creature you control. The token gives the enchanted creature +1/+1 and trample, which can be helpful in dealing damage to an opponent who has several blockers, or at least one big boy. Other sorceries, like Bakery Raid, which allows you to create a food token, and Heart's Desire, which allows you to create a 1/1 white human creature token, grant you the ability to craft tokens you can use to various ends, such as gaining life in a pinch and ensuring you have a chump blocker for that big boy without trample your opponent has ever so conveniently got on the field. There are several other abilities amongst the adventures in this deck, like granting creatures keywords with spells like Twice the Rage, and reducing the power of an enemy card at instant speed with Desperate Parry. But my favorite is probably Bear Down, not only because of the art, but because of its ability, which allows you to destroy a target artifact or enchantment. Both are often powerful cards, if not the most powerful card type, and their removal can really throw a wrench in your opponent's plan. You can never have enough removal as far as I'm concerned. Some of the creature cards I included in the deck aren't adventure cards. They're few and far between, but they're designed to synergize with the deck. Some are designed to help the deck ramp, so it's easier to cast higher cost spells, while others build off the adventure mechanic, triggering off the fact that you're casting spells from a source other than your hand, with that mechanic or simply casting an adventure spell in general. Some cards that help with ramp and ensure that you have enough mana to do whatever you need to do are the mana dorks I threw into the deck, like Poison Dart Frog, which you can also grant Death Touch for 2 colorless mana, making it an ideal blocker in a pinch. There's also Woe's Pathfinder, Bramble Familiar, and Root Rider Fawn. Most of the cards that build off the adventure mechanic are cards with a paradox ability, which means that whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, which you would be doing in the case of exiled adventure cards, something happens. Examples of these cards are Graham O'Brien, who makes it so whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you create a food token, ensuring you typically have a way to regain some health, and the 13th Doctor, who makes it so whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, allowing you to steadily build up the strength of your army. Other creatures lack paradox, but synergize with the adventure mechanic because of their description. Examples include Chancellor of Tales, which makes it so whenever you cast an adventure spell, you may copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy, thus allowing you to get twice as much out of your adventure spells. And Odre Pak Patik, Deepest Epoch, which makes it so whenever you cast an instant spell from your hand, it gains rebound. This means that you exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast it from exile without paying its mana cost, again allowing you to get twice as much out of your spells. Some of the non-adventure cards in this deck don't fit cleanly into either of the two categories I just described, but work well in the deck anyway. An example of a card that meets this description is Loyal Guardian. In this context, the only relevant ability on the card is its secondary ability, Lieutenant. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you control your commander, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. An ability which slowly makes each of your creatures more menacing and more capable defensively, allowing you both to dish out a lot of damage to put an end to your enemies and keep yourself safe, while also potentially whittling away at enemy attackers. The sorceries I've included in this deck serve a number of different functions. Cards like Cultivate and Farseek offer ramp, while cards like Fade into Antiquity and Over the Edge are great removal options, although Over the Edge also provides you with the opportunity to explore. Fade Away may also fall into the removal category depending on when it strikes, or it could simply stall an enemy's progression because, for each creature, that creature's controller pays a colorless mana or sacrifices a permanent. Finally, Walk with Ancestors offers some graveyard recursion and the opportunity to get a blocker or another useful card onto the field. I've included 2 more instants in this deck than sorceries, and a good chunk of them are counterspells. There's the classic counterspell in addition to Disdainful Stroke, Essence Capture, Essence Scatter, Negate, and Spell Stutter. Chaos Warp and Perplexing Test serve as removal. Chaos Warp removes a single card and potentially replaces it with another that's hopefully less dangerous, while Perplexing Test offers you a choice. You can return all creature tokens to their owner's hands, or return all non-token creatures to their owner's hands. You probably aren't going to have as many token creatures on the board as you will non-token creatures in this deck, so you'll probably be using the first ability most often, but whatever the case, it's massive removal in a pinch. The final instant I included in this deck is Growth Spiral, which allows you to draw a card before putting a land from your hand onto the battlefield, if you've got one. So it's a little bit of ramp with a small amount of potential to draw into something helpful if you've got nothing to play. There are only 2 artifacts in this deck. The first is Arcane Signet, which I've included in case one gets color screwed. The second is Cursed Mirror, which always functions as a mana rock, which you can tap to create a single red mana. In my opinion, however, its most interesting ability is the one that occurs when it ETBs. As Cursed Mirror ETBs, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. This has a lot of potential, especially for later in the game when you can copy a card like Beanstalk Giant, who is presumably massive and capable of dealing a lot of damage. Finally, we have our enchantments. The first is Eaten by Piranhas. This card has flash, meaning you can play it at instant speed, and allows you to enchant a creature. The enchanted creature loses all abilities and is a black skeleton creature with base power and toughness 1/1. This is a great way to weaken and potentially wipe out a strong enemy creature when it's attacking you. Essentially, it allows you to launch a surprise attack, or just keep yourself from dying. The second is Up the Beanstalk. When Up the Beanstalk enters the battlefield, and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 5 or greater, draw a card. Since there are a lot of cards that meet this converted mana cost minimum in the deck, Up the Beanstalk is a great way to add fairly consistent card draw to the deck. Finally, there's Garenbrig Growth / Virtue of Strength. Garenbrig Growth allows for some graveyard recursion, while Virtue of Strength allows you to tap a basic land for 3 times as much mana. This is some serious ramp that can really help you build up your board state and accomplish anything else you may need to, like successfully countering a target spell. And there you have it, my deck tech for Beluna Grandsquall. What did you think of my budget deck tech? Do you want to check this giantess out? How do you feel about the adventure mechanic? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you kings, queens, and in-betweens think. Full deck list will also be posted down below in the description for your convenience and perusal. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll always know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys!
Hi, Tisha Valenza, aka Poison Ivy, and you've just been watching King's Entertainment Reviews. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and watch.